There's a girl who used to stand at a mirror every morning and smile back at herself. Not out of vanity, but out of recognition. She knew the girl staring right back at her. That girl had a name, a future, and a fire that no one had yet imagined to extinguish. That girl was me. And then, almost without noticing, I disappeared. My name is Adaeze, and this is the story of how I lost myself in the quiet comfort of the wrong company, and what I had to face to find my way back. 5 years ago, I was a girl with a plan, not a vague, wishy-washy, I want to be successful someday plan. No, I had a blueprint. I was going to be a cardiologist, a renowned one. I wanted to walk into rooms that held broken hearts, both literally and figuratively, and stitch them back together. I wanted to be remembered. I wanted to leave a mark so deep that even decades after I was gone, someone would whisper my name and say, "She changed things." I carried this dream like a lantern into the university. I thought nothing could dim it. I was wrong. Freshman year was disorienting in ways I hadn't prepared for. The campus was enormous, the people were strangers, and loneliness has a way of lowering your standard for belonging. So when Rose and Neely sat beside me in my very first lecture and laughed freely, the kind of laugh that sounds like they have absolutely nothing to lose, I was drawn in like a moth to warmth. They were kind, they were fun, they were the first people who made me feel like I had found home in a strange land. I thought, surely God sent them. But heaven doesn't send you companions who are perfectly comfortable at the bottom. And slowly, without a single dramatic moment, I began to settle. A missed study section here, a skipped lecture there, a D on an assignment that I told myself really didn't matter. Rose and Neely never panic. "It's fine," they'll say, waving their great sheets like they were holding grocery receipts, "as long as you don't fail." I started to believe them. Complacency is insidious because it doesn't announce itself. It doesn't arrive in a storm. It tiptoes in wearing comfortable shoes, sits down beside you, and whispers, "You're tired, rest a little, you deserve a break," and you listen. People closest to you have made peace with mediocrity. Your own ambition starts to feel embarrassing, excessive, delusional even. I stopped talking about cardiology. When people ask what I wanted to do in my life, I would shrug and say, "Something in medicine." The way you say something vague because the real answer suddenly feels too big, too audacious, too far from where you currently stand. I stopped looking at the mirror the way I used to. The girl in it started to look like a stranger. Here is what nobody warns you about when you leave home for the first time. The greatest threat to your destiny is not failure. It is comfort in the wrong company. It is a slow, pleasant anesthesia belonging to people who are not going anywhere. Friendship is not a euphoric accident. It is a deliberate, ongoing choice. When you choose a friend, you're choosing a mirror. And whatever that mirror reflects back at you, you will eventually begin to believe. Rose and Neely were not bad people. Let me be clear about that. They were warm, they were loyal, and they genuinely cared for me in the way they knew how. But they had made an unspoken peace with smallness, and proximity to that peace is a silent, slow poison. There is a profound difference between the people who look at life and ask, "How much can I get away with?" and those who ask, "How much can I become?" I had always been the second kind of person, but I spent 2 years surrounded by the first kind, and it reshaped me in ways I didn't see until the damage was already done. One afternoon in my third year, I was sitting in the back of a lecture hall, exactly where Rose has always preferred to sit, half listening, half scrolling through my phone, when I heard a voice. It was Dr. Okafor, the professor of cardiovascular physiology, and she was telling the class about a patient she has lost early in her career. A young man with a preventable heart condition that went undiagnosed because, as she said quietly, the doctor who saw him had stopped caring about getting it right. They had settled for good enough. The room was silent, and in that silence, something cracked open in my chest. I thought about the girl I used to be. I thought about cardiology. I thought about all the hearts, real beating human hearts, that will one day depend on someone who had refused to be ordinary. And I thought, what if that someone was supposed to be me? What if I had let the world talk me out of a calling, not by force, not by catastrophe, but by comfort? That was the day I walked out of the back hall and sat at the front for the first time in 2 years. Rose tested me later. Why did you move? Did we do something wrong? Leaving that friendship, or rather, outgrowing it, was one of the loneliest things I have ever done. There is a particular grief that comes from walking away from people who were never cruel to you. I will not pretend that I recovered quickly. The years I spent at the back of the room, in classrooms, in life, left marks. My GPA has suffered. My confidence had been quietly excavated. The girl who used to stand at the mirror and smile with recognition now sometimes finds it hard to hold her own gaze. But she was still there. Bruised, confused, ashamed, but there. I began to rebuild slowly. The way you rebuild anything that has been genuinely damaged. Not in a single dramatic moment of transformation, but in small, unglamorous acts of recommitment. I sought out people who were hungry for knowledge, for growth, for a life that felt it was worth the oxygen it consumed. I found a study group of students who stayed late not because they were failing, but because they were driven. I told one of them nervously about my dream to be a cardiologist. She didn't laugh. She said, "Then let's make sure you get there." That was the moment I understood. The people around you are not just company, they are architecture. They are the structure into which your dreams either grow or shrink. Choose them like your life depends on it. I still stand at the mirror every morning, and slowly, imperfectly, I am learning to recognize the girl staring back at me again. Here are 3 things I wish someone had told me sooner. First, audit your circle before you audit your future. Sit with this question. Do people closest to you pull you towards growth or towards comfort? Not cruelty, comfort. List the 5 people you spend the most time with. Are they expanding your world or quietly shrinking it? You don't always have to cut people off, but you must be deliberate about who gets your most formative hours. 2. Write down who you were before you started apologizing for it. There was a version of you, maybe years ago, maybe just months, who wanted something big and beautiful and difficult. Before the wrong voices convinced you that wanting too much was foolish, find that version. Write her name. Write what she wanted. Don't explain it or justify it. Just hold it. And ask yourself, is she still there? She almost certainly is. She's just been very quiet, waiting for you to come back to her. 3. Take one seat at the front, literally or metaphorically, today. You don't need a full transformation. You don't need to have it all figured out. But do one thing today that the version of you who had given up would not have done. Raise your hand in the meeting. Send the application. Open a textbook. Sit at the front. Not because you feel ready, you won't, but because readiness is not a prerequisite for action. Action is. One step forward is how every comeback begins.